Welcome to the Mark Attwood Show, Adventures in a Cosmic Suit. Now, before I start, remember, email in the description. Get on my email list. Best way of staying in touch with my work. Do you like the new bookcase? It's nice, isn't it? Look, that's Fred. He's my mate. But the microphone blocks him. So, anyway, you know how I like to talk to people who know more about shit than me? Well, that's most people. Well, today we're going to talk about electroculture, which I know nothing about. Maybe I know a little bit, but nowhere near as much as Rachel Russell, who's joining me today. Hello, Rachel.
Yay! Hola! Hello.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
Está muy bien.
I'm out of my depth now. You can stop.
So good. So
How's it going?
Yeah, amazing. It's a really exciting world at the moment, and there's so much stuff coming out. You know, things that have been hidden for so long. And sometimes when you search for this information, it's kind of buried. So you get so far along the road, and yeah, it's a dead end. So it's then putting as many feelers out as possible. It's the investigations, and it's quite exciting though, you know, because actually there is a whole new world available to us that, you know, a lot of us didn't know about. So
I know.
Yeah,
that's a very good start to the show, because I just keep laughing. I'm in my kitchen and I'm looking at all the things I've got in the kitchen that I didn't have 3 years ago, and then are doing amazing things for me and my family and for lots of people. And I've got a pyramid here surrounded by orgonite crystals. If you told Tesla machines, if you told me this 3 years ago, I'd have been like, but we've all had to learn and seek the alternatives, haven't we? And what's your background?
You're doing that a lot more than other people. I think if you go for all healing modalities, you know, you're bound to come across something like the bioresonance. I think that you've been researching quite a bit of, and it's super exciting, and it's all along the same lines of things.
Well, it's all about energy, isn't it?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
we are frequency, and energy is frequency, and you know, it's hidden in plain sight. All of it has been hidden in plain sight.
Well, also, you know, the creativity side of us, I think we're probably one of the most creative of the galaxy, potentially, and maybe why we're being rescued, you know, because the nefarious, you know, they've come along and done their stuff, and now it's time to take it all back. And oh yeah, super exciting. But do you want me to I suppose talk about the electroculture from, because this started many years ago or centuries ago really, Egyptians, you know, with their pyramids. You've got one behind you up there.
A little bit of orgonite.
Is that orgonite? One teaspoon of that can heat your house for a whole year.
Say that again.
1 teaspoon of orgonite can heat your house for a whole year.
Okay.
It's primer fusion. Version 3 is about to come along. So, you know, do you know about the primer cubes?
I don't.
So there's all sorts of different healing modalities online that you can build yourself. So primer cube is one of them. And so we've printed one. It's downstairs, actually. I haven't brought it up, but it's you put in 40 magnets, and it spins at a velocity, and it creates a 2-meter radius around it of a healing bubble, essentially. But this chap was shown it in his dream by God, and told to actually show the workings out, which he was quite uncomfortable with. He didn't really want to do that. He just wanted to show the end product. So he showed all his workings out, and then he patented it and then unpatented it so that everyone could then have it for free.
Wow. You've got one?
Yeah, we're building one at the moment. We've just got a 3D printer. It's just down here. It's really
God!
exciting.
Can we do a show on that?
Yeah, we could do a show on it. And there's also, I mean, there's another one, Bob Beck.
I've been Bob Becking all week.
Have you?
Yeah. I brought it up on the show the other day, because he's the guy that created a thing that basically runs a very small current through your blood and gives you immortal blood, because it gets rid of all the crap in your blood, and it's all about the blood.
Yeah.
And it costs like $20 to build one of these things.
Yeah, exactly. We're building one at the moment.
Are you like handy that way? Because I'm not very handy that way.
My partner Tony is incredible at all this stuff.
Tony, can you build me one, Tony? I'll pay you.
We can build you one, but it's 2 units in one. So one is the silver electrodes that go into the glass and actually creates the. Right, have I lost you?
No, we're here. Have you lost me? Hello, I'm here.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, all good.
I lost you.
Okay. Well, that's because I'm
So
flipping.
one side of the.
Can you hear me? I said that's because I'm flipping.
Yeah.
I'm flipping dimensions all the time. That's why.
Okay, excellent. I will continue. So it's two units in one. So there's 2 different separate units. The first one is the cleanser, as you said, with the electrodes, and there's different ways of applying that, but we're going to do it with the stickies. But we're also going to add a photonic red light onto it.
Oh, yeah. Where's my device? Oh, I don't know where it is.
I've got a couple of
this kind of red light. Can you see me?
Well, that's I call it the hairdryer.
This is red light.
That's the one. Is that the one with? Yeah, is that the one with the crystal in as well?
I'm not sure.
A lot of people are calling them wands. Now you can buy them on Etsy for like 30 something quid.
Do you mean one of these? This is the wand.
Yeah, that's the wand. Yeah, you can buy those really cheaply these days. I mean, to buy LED lights, they're like pence.
Yeah,
a pence. You know, then you buy a crystal. How much is that? And then you get the hairdryer element of it. But I mean, it's all the same thing, isn't it? Again, but so to go back to the unit. So the first part is the electrodes that you put on. So the wrist is the only place on your body where your 2 big main veins go above the bone. So you can, you can actually cleanse your blood that way. And then the other part of the machine is the silver. What do you call them? The silver prongs. I don't know the technical name. Apologies. To make your colloidal silver. So then you basically just hang it in the glass and create your colloidal silver. And then the second machine, and I'm not sure if we can build those or we probably can. There's always a way, isn't there? And that's the ozone water, and that is the Bob Beck protocol that most people do. So I just have to stop drinking coffee, and stop smoking.
Well, look, nobody's perfect.
No.
But this is bobbeck.com, everybody that was asking the other day about where you get this stuff from. He's got his protocols here: brain tuner, magnetic pulsing, micropulsing, colloidal silver. And somewhere in this, there you go, build Beck units.
Yeah.
Build your own PDF. This guy was a gift from God. And I only found him a few weeks ago. So I've just actually ordered one of the wrist cleansers from a guy on Etsy from Slovenia, I think, because I'm useless when it comes to building things like that. But it's about 100 quid. But I think seems like a good idea. I just love this sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing, and there's so many healing modalities out there. I mean, obviously, the most powerful one is our brain, and then there's the new German medicine for that one.
Like I just said to my son is currently feeling a bit ill, and he's off school today, and he's in the kitchen. He goes, "I feel so dizzy. I feel so sick." I said, "What about saying I feel really strong and I feel so well?" And he's like, "But I don't." I said, "Yeah, but you create your own reality." And I'm trying to get this into all of my kids, but with varying degrees of success.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I gave up kind of earning money about a year and 4 months ago, and everything just comes to me. Like this morning, my friend phoned me up and said she's got a huge bag of knack. I've just run out. And then I was thinking, well, I do need to earn some money, actually, I think. So I'll maybe have a look tomorrow, which was today. And then, Connected Consciousness are looking for people to help out on, paid positions with those guys. So it's everything just comes along just at the right time. If you're
in the flow.
Yeah, but it's your story. It's, you know, what do you perceive your life to be? Is it incredible? Because if you do think it's incredible, then it generally is.
Yeah.
And answers just come to you. You know, it's not something that we, I suppose, universe always takes control in the right way. And you know, we're either at the mercy of negative things coming into our life. You know, you could walk down the street and whatever comes, you know, towards you is what you're attracting.
Hmm.
Um, and everything that then happens thereon. But I am literally having the most incredible life since I gave up corporate and working for all these nefarious companies, because yeah, I get time to, you know, sing in the garden with nature, and I call it my abundance lessons, because everything in nature just never fails to grow. It's
Mm.
just so abundant. So I grow, we've got 5 acres here. And we have bees, we've got chickens, we've got all the vegetables, the orchard, create new fencing to stop all the deer and rabbits getting in. But then there's always challenges as well. You know, I've got a sick chicken in the kitchen downstairs. And we've had a few problems lately. Half of the farm essentially died around the wooded area. We had a hive of bees that died. We had all the rabbits along underneath all those trees. They all died. And 2 of my chickens died on one day. But when we're first faced with these kind of events, I don't know what actually happened. So I don't know if it was microwaves, 5G, 4G, what it was. But something happened. And so I looked into bioresonance, which is the technology from the Egyptians. So you can change. So a chap went along to a church in Germany. It's a 6-minute video on YouTube that illustrates, because what they'd done was put 5G into the steeple of a church. I mean, how crazy is that? And so what he did is he went and put the biogeometric implements. So some of them are just patterns. Everything is intrinsic, everything is energy. And then he put these, I suppose, mini sculptures to realign the energy. So people that were having, you know, ringing, buzzing in the ears, they had horrible headaches, the plants had all died in the garden. So we implemented things within people's houses that were being affected worst. And absolute saviour, because they were still able to have the technology. They didn't have to rip it down, although that would be preferable in my opinion. But they were able to make it safe. You know, so there's always a solution, no matter what the problem is. And there's generally multiple solutions as well. But the electric gardening side of things is utilizing all this amazing energy that we have. I mean, these bamboo behind me, it's not real, it's a poster. It's a big poster behind me. But I play the didgeridoo, and mine is actually made out of bamboo like this. So this is just like a massive didgeridoos behind me. But electroculture is, you know, if you look at the shape of a tree and the way it grows, those are the antennas, you know, that collect this energy. The water goes up the trunk of the tree. And then below the earth, you know, there's twice the size of the tree below the earth. So as above, so below. So what you do with electroculture, you can't put electroculture right next to a big tree, because you're just going to divert the water flow away from it. So if you're in a large built up area and you don't want to have a great big antenna sticking up, because as you wrap copper coil around an antenna, every meter that you go up, you have a potential of 100 volts per meter. So you're attracting that energy in and down through that magnetic, the copper coil.
So let's just pause there for a second. So you're talking about getting a piece of wood in the ground, wrapping copper coil around it, and what you're saying is that from the ether.
Yeah.
Let's use that word, because that was mainstream science 120 years ago until they got rid of it. From the ether, it's very simply you're pulling electricity out of the ether into the ground.
Yeah.
And so you're directing that energy into a place where you want it to go in order to re-energize the ground around
Yeah.
it.
Yes. You basically you bring the soil back to life. So it doesn't matter what type of soil you have. So if you look at the no dig, for example,
I've got some in my garden.
and there you go. But
So
you don't.
when sorry.
You don't actually need the extra compost, the extra manure, and all those sides of it. So the ground, I mean, just you take one teaspoon out, we still have no idea, what exactly is going on within that 1 teaspoon. And just recently, they found bacteria that actually allows electricity to flow through it. So,
Well, that's us.
well, yeah. Everything is alive. Everything is energy. Even a room resonates, But so going back to the tree, so as above, so below. So what you're doing with electroculture, so you know the difference between primary water and secondary water.
I don't think I do.
Okay, so secondary water is our lakes, streams, rivers, rain, viaducts, whatever, everything above the ground. So it absorbs into the air and it falls down, and we've got all our rivers, etc. But then we've got water at sea level, and that's called primary water, and that's essentially kind of crystal water. And as above, so below. So as from the ground up, you're also bringing up through the energetics, through the ether. You're actually bringing up that crystal water, which is super pure, super beautiful. And I think if Dr. Emoto was to take pictures of that, that is, it's those crystal formations. It's what nature gives us. So whether it's whales diving deep and creating their resonance, whether it's birds above, ground, it's all resonance. Whether it's the electro magnetics of a storm, or rain clouds, etc. There are different degrees or amounts of electricity going through the air. I don't understand all of it, but it makes sense to me personally. Ooh, there we go, Dr. Emoto.
So you dropped Emoto in, but there will be people watching this who've never heard of him. Who was a Japanese. It says controversial claims. It's just crackers, but he took pictures of different water, crystallized, frozen pictures of crystallized water, and if you give different energy frequencies to the water, it created different patterns. And thank you, wisdom, truth, and evil. You can see this is why. He proved to me years ago that frequency is everything, and we're 90% water, so
Yeah.
that's why you've got to watch what you say and or what's your intention. I don't think it's
Yeah.
about the word necessarily; it's more about the intention. And if you're full of love and fun and happiness, then you actually change. That's what I was just saying to my son. You make yourself well, and you make other people around you well.
Yeah, and they've also done it with water in a speaker where they've created sound, and I think the resonance of celebration always turns up as a shape of a flower. So if you think about bees going towards celebration, and then we don't understand so many things because a bee will be attracted to a flower. And it can tell whether it's been visited or not before. And if it hasn't been visited, it will go to that flower, and then the flower will seduce it so that it goes to the same type of flower throughout the day.
That reminds me of a great line. Do you remember the film With Nail and I?
Yes, many years ago.
Richard Griffiths played this overtly camp uncle, and there was this great line. He said, "Flowers are simply prostitutes for the bees."
It's so true.
Yeah.
But they're a celebration for us as well. It's
Well, why do we give flowers? Flowers is totally associated with celebrating, and birthdays and Valentine's Day and all of that is
yeah,
and celebrating life when you die. Flowers,
exactly. The white flowers, yeah. So you become pure. You go back to source, or whatever happens. It's never the end, is it? We are just beings that continue.
We're eternal beings.
Yeah, yeah.
I had my Akashic records done yesterday, and apparently I've been around for 1.7 million years.
Well, supposedly, if your palms are, apparently you can tell how old your soul is from your palms.
Yeah, there's a guy that comments on all my videos called Tony Shush, and he keeps saying everything is in the palms. And
Yeah.
sorry, I just haven't got around to looking into it, but I do need to do that. And I got told something very interesting about my palm the other week, which I'm not supposed to share, which is to do with the letter M.
Did your palm sign an NDA?
No.
But essentially, so going back to the I suppose the crystals, because it was the monks essentially that meditated on the water, and then the water was frozen and looked under a microscope to have a look at those images. And there's a lady in New Zealand. I'm trying to remember her name. I've totally forgotten her name. It's an obscure name anyway. But she has been, for the last 9 years, she's been going down this rabbit hole of intent. And the way that the water is freezing was actually really interesting. So she was looking at a Monet painting, and as the water was freezing, it replicated exactly that image. And then she did it with a dog, and she did it with all sorts of different things, and it just created that image. And then she started asking, are you an alien? Is water an alien? Is my mother with you? You know, all sorts of amazing questions. And she shows you how to actually do this in your own home, because all you need additionally to what we have in our kitchen is a Petri dish. And so she shows people how to do that on her website. But I'll send you the link for that so that you can share that with others as well.
Well, yeah, everybody watching this will want to see that. I want to see it. So what I'd say to you guys watching this is join my Telegram channel with the links below, and I'll post it there.
You've got 2 Telegram channels, haven't you?
I've got hundreds because I'm being imitated. So the first one, I got attacked about a year ago, massively, and basically my phone, I had to change my phone number, which meant I lost control of my Telegram channel plus lots of other things. So and they said they were going to delete it, and then I thought, well, the only thing I can do is set up another one from scratch. So I did that, but the other one's still there. But every day must be getting 1,000 messages. People are getting messages from somebody pretending to be me, setting up new channels pretending to be me. I mean, it's very flattering, but it's fucking pointless.
I can, yeah. I'm sure it must be really quite frustrating, but you know, at the same time, it's a massive congratulations to you, because you're sharing amazing information. You know, it's the forefront of life, isn't it? And how do we share this information? And I suppose all this good that's actually coming out might not have come out before, but now that we've got the capability of technology, you know, we've got communities being created all over the world, and it doesn't really matter where you are. Your family is all over the world. The world has become super small in that sense. We don't need aeroplanes. We don't need to be in the same location, although energetically it's wonderful to be in other people's company.
I need aeroplanes. I love aeroplanes. Don't say that.
Yeah, no, I know. You're a pilot, aren't you?
Well, I'm a very rusty pilot. I was a pilot, but I love flying. My daughter's learning at the moment, which is good.
Is she?
So
Wow.
keep in touch with that through her vicariously. No, it is amazing. I think the internet is definitely a white hat operation, because, and that's why they built the blue monolithic cities like Facebook and corralled people into their places to keep them. Because I used to describe the internet as like a when it first started as like a wilderness where we used to share files. It was all cooperative and sharing files and you know, was decentralized. But then they brought the centralization in, which is what they've done in the real world, and now they're trying to bring in the metaverse, and they're digitally mapping every plant, every creature on Earth, so that they can create this metaverse. We might be in a metaverse.
We might. You never know. Absolutely. There's so many possibilities of actually, where are we? Who are we? How did we get here? Why are we here?
Yeah, I've been asking that. I've been asking that for 1.7 million years.
Yeah. But then it's almost like the argument of, are we on a round earth? Are we on, a donut? Are we on a bowl? Are we flat? It doesn't really matter. We're at war, basically. So, whatever it is, I'm sure we'll find out one day, but there's no point losing any sleep over it at the moment.
Well, let's get to the positive application of the knowledge of electro culture.
Yes. So as above, so below. So you're bringing up that crystal water, and there's loads of different scientific studies that have been created, and a lot of the time, I'd say 85% of the time, they did a lot better and got much bigger produce when they weren't watering the plants. So utilizing everything that the earth has. So just to come back a bit, so indigenous, this is many years ago, indigenous people that would walk towards, I don't know, different settlements, etc. They would measure the electricity in the ground, or the ether energy in the ground. And if it was alive, they knew that when they come across that actual town, village, whatever it was, there would either be peace or there would be war. And obviously with war comes famine, comes lack, comes illness, comes dis-ease. Now, if the soil was alive, they knew they were going to come across peace, and health, and all the good things. So that was indicative of them, measuring the soil to actually find out what they're going to come across so that they could be prepared. So the different ways in which we can utilize it, it's utilizing north to south access of the earth, so the magnetic north to south. So you can have wires traveling underground that then actually they all connect. So for Christmas I got a soldering iron. Well, it's a little flame actually, but very exciting because it is important to connect these wires. Yes, you can get them to touch, but after a while you don't know what's happening necessarily under the ground. So it is best to just solder them together. Now, copper is the most amazing, I suppose, way of what is it? The getting electricity to flow through it. What's the word for that? It's
it's too early in the morning for me, right?
Okay, so electricity.
No, it's funny you say that. Can you see this on my neck here?
Okay, yes. Ooh.
So that's some sort of photonic technologies from LifeWave. There's links below if you're interested. But this stimulates copper peptides in your body, and effectively, what that does is stimulates stem cells. So it's the same concept, and turns you into a Faraday cage, which repels things like 5G. So yeah, the copper's absolutely fascinating, powerful, and cheap as chips.
Yeah, I mean, compared to gold, absolutely. But gold is amazing. I mean, you can see the gold on these structures all over the world.
What structures?
Hey?
Which structures?
So, in Russia, you've got those beautiful, I can't remember what the place is called. There's loads of images of these sculptures, and the electroculture PDF I sent you has a really... Oh, yeah, brilliant.
I've got the abundance gardening one. Is that the one?
Yes, yeah, that's the one. But it's towards the end of the presentation is the electroculture side of things. But it would be good to illustrate how buildings used to conduct, some of them still do, conduct the electricity and bring it in. So the Eiffel Tower was supposed to be 3. So there was one big tower and then there were 2 small ones either side, like you get on the old lights or lamps, and they would have 2 energy small parts either side of the big light. But that was the conduction of electricity, wireless electricity, which we don't have these days.
Well, do we or don't we? Good question.
We do. It's just the utilization of it. We have it, but we're not utilizing it. They've kind of cut, I suppose, a cord somewhere along the lines, and then it's for us to essentially understand and to re-enable the energies to flow. Like in Rome, we have the quay. As far as you can see from a bird's eye view, the way in which it's all structured. And there was, what was his, in the 17th century, across the whole of the UK, the landscape was changed. Was it Constable? Oh, God, what was his name? Honestly, my brain is a bit blank today. I'm so sorry. But he changed. He literally, within 100 years, he changed the whole landscape of the UK. So instead of having all these formal gardens where you're actually using ether energy, he destroyed all that and he moved mountains literally in order to accomplish it.
I'm about to release a film of me in Derbyshire last week where we found this. There's a stone circle called Arbor Low, and it's very inconspicuous. You know, there were 4 people there. When it's not like Stonehenge, but it's the intersection of 9 ley lines in the UK.
Wow.
It's the most powerful stone circle in the UK, possibly the world, because the UK is actually the center of the world, which is why the British Empire existed, because it's all to do with energy. And while we were there, I got a message that there was a blockage. So I ran over this hump. And the funny thing was, the whole thing was excavated. Why would it ever have been covered up? So somebody had covered it up. Because when you see these, we excavated the stone circle. So, well, how could it have been covered? It doesn't make any sense unless that was deliberate. And on the outside, so I ran over this little ridge, and I immediately knew I was looking at an antenna, but it was like a concrete block with VR, Victoria Regina, and there was one there with George Rex. I got that wrong the other day. I called it Regina, and then copper. One of them had been knocked over, and 2 copper wires were sticking out the bottom, and I was like, I knew it was for blocking and redirecting the energy. And we found the one, and I was like, there's going to be 9 more. Went around, and there were. And my friend that I was with, she's been going there for 30 years, and she'd never even noticed them before. And so this idea of literally changing the landscape is all to do with energy. And the Masons know all about the secrets of masonry. Is all about buildings, because they know all this stuff, but they want it hidden from us. And it's all about the direction of that. And it's like the roads in Ireland, for example. When the EU came in, the first thing they did was build these massive roads. And people that are old enough in Ireland to remember know that the energy of the old roads was a good thing. And then this supersedes it, because this is why cities look like silicon chips. Or if you look at a silicon chip under a microscope, it looks like a city. Because that's what we are. They're funneling energy from us, because we're antennas, we're energy, and they feed off our energy. So the whole thing's a farm. It's an open air prison and a farm, and we are the food source.
Dinner with Andre.
Yeah.
I mean, fascinating you say that, but also the waterways. The
canals. Redirecting the water all the time. And it's like, if you look at a city like Amsterdam, which is very Tartarian, the canal system there is, I haven't seen research to back this up, but I've heard it and it resonates with me. But the canal system was so they'd pull in the energy in cathedrals, right? Which are really power stations.
Yeah.
They pull the energy in from the ether and then store it in the water. And the waterways were built to be what's it called? Sacred geometrical shapes, which is why you've got the star forts all around the world that are stunning, and really, I think they're power stations. And not only did they store it there, but they were beaming a healthy signal out. And what we've got now with this satanic bunch of motherfuckers is these towers hidden in the forests that are using frequency technology against us, whereas it used to be used for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I've got your PDF uploaded. Tell me when you want me to put that up.
Well, we could pop it up now, actually, because the building with the so it's actually towards the end. So the abundance gardening.
How many slides are there?
Yeah, there's quite a few. That's my cockerel. There you go.
Yeah, I love that picture.
This one.
Mm.
If you go back one, actually, sorry. Is it? Yeah, that one. So
Very
this is where you can see it illustrated with the blue circle. So
Yeah.
that is collecting the ether energy. It's just a really nice kind of example. So we have wireless. So they had what do you call them? Luminous shows, didn't they?
Yeah.
Light shows. I can't remember. I'm sure they called them. Was it luminous show? Anyway, but they had light shows where they would just light up everything. Some incredible old videos about. But yeah, so what we're doing is we're actually collecting this energy, as above, so below. So the crystal water enabling it to stay moist. And then the structure of the ground then is alive, essentially. And it attracts all the bugs, all the butterflies, nature. And my chickens just keep digging it up constantly.
Mm.
But they love it. They love to sit all over it, you know, and dig it up and then just plonk themselves all over it.
It's the same with.
So it's fascinating to actually see, because that's. Were you going to say something?
I was just saying it's the same with me with the organ. My cat curls up next to the orgonite or the Tesla machine or the pyramid. Constant, you know, and we sense it, but we just kind of desensitize ourselves to sensing things. We just feel ill when we're not getting good energy.
And bees, actually, and cats, they like to sit on negative energy.
Yeah.
And bees especially. Actually, the place in sorry to go backwards. The place in Derbyshire is that the 9 ladies. Is it the 9 stone?
I don't know.
Every time I go to Derby, in fact, I was there for a Christmas show just before Christmas, and so I go up there every time, and we always make a wish and light our candle. But energetically, so there's the 9 stone circle.
No, it wasn't. It's Arbor Low, which is different. This nine ladies is Stanton Moor, I think.
Stanton on the Peak. Stanton on the Peak is the 9 ladies. So this must be a different place.
I'm looking at pictures of it now. It's definitely a different place, but you know, Derbyshire is really very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. But okay, so on this slide, it illustrates how you can effectively use permaculture with a tree. So if you had the copper wire going up the tree, then you would then disturb the way in which the water flows up the trunk, and so you would then just kill the tree. Now, if you take the electroculture away from it, adding more energy and then bringing it down, so that line going down diagonally to the tree is then bringing extra for the soil. It's bringing extra for the tree. It's bringing extra for the way in which we cover the ground. So ground covered is a good thing because it keeps it cooler. It keeps an environment where insects, everything else can actually thrive.
Can I just interrupt you?
Yeah.
So what I'm looking at a big piece of wood away from the tree with an antenna that's got a copper wire going down into the ground near the tree.
Yeah.
So that's helping the tree. And have you done this? Have you done this yourself?
So yeah, so I'm currently doing it at the moment in the veg plot.
Have you got any pictures of that? Is there any on this PDF?
Well, there is of me starting the no dig a while ago. No, I have. I mean, I started putting wires underground, but because it's not my land, it's my parents'. My dad doesn't really agree with anything I do. Because I'm anti stuffy. Yeah, we don't see eye to eye. But okay, so where those pictures, that the last slide just before there, that's where I have most of my electroculture at the moment. In fact, that's an antenna there. Just you can see on the left hand side.
Yeah, I can see it.
That was one of my, because you can take copper wire out of washing machines, out of all sorts of different electrical appliances, and as long as they're not not galvanized, insulated, you can use them, and you can strip off the insulation, but it's a bit of a faff, because you need to be able to connect it to other wires. So you can have the antennas going up. Okay, yeah, so that's my garden. I spent £250 on composting just for those 2 beds. But with electroculture, you don't actually need this. It's essentially just making sure that the soil is alive. So when you put wires underground, so you're going backwards at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, I want to get to the beginning.
Oh, do you? Okay. So abundance gardening.
Let's make this a logical thing.
Yeah. Okay. We'll make it into a logical progression. So I think within gardening, I think if people talk about gardening, you think about, the back-breaking digging and it's all hard work and it's really, it's not much fun. But actually, you can create whatever you like within your space, just like an interior designer does. You can design your own garden and you can make it fun. You can make it educational. You can use it for, for children. Anything to do with balance cures dyslexia. It's also, the entrance into all the lucid dreaming side of things. But, we're trying to be creative with our environment so that, you can go back to bliss in the blink of an eye. And it's so important for bliss to be around, to be abundant with everything, because, that's where magic starts to flow into your life. So making it, interesting, colourful, where you can do different exercises, where you can just sit and chill with, a glass of wine, whatever. It's an environment. And so you create that environment for whatever you need. Now, if you just need all the space just for growing plants or vegetables, and then a few flowers in between to attract the bees, you don't want to be growing all the same thing in one place. But yeah, so using modern methods, now modern being, additional information that we're all learning, the electroculture, the no dig, using copper, using even galvanized steel. Galvanization is with zinc, and zinc is a really good, I've forgotten that word again, conductor of electricity, for energy, ether energy to flow through. So, and galvanized wire is super cheap. Copper is cheap, yes. It's not as expensive as gold, silver, etc. But it is. It can still be used, and you can put it under the ground. We'll get to that soon. So, oh God, there's so many exciting things. There's rejuvenating seeds, and we'll get back to that slightly later. But that is probably one of the most exciting aspects of electroculture that I've come across recently. Vibration, so sound, tuning forks. In my dissertation at university, 1997, I was doing my dissertation on tuning forks and the resonance of tuning forks and how they vibrate the cells. But it wasn't until about a decade later that I then learned about the photonic red lights that then vibrate the cells in a different way.
Yeah, it's
I've inspired you to go and grab something, haven't I?
Yeah.
Oh, just on that topic, you're bringing back tuning forks or something, aren't you? Have you seen the tuning forks with 3 prongs?
No.
Yeah, they look amazing.
I've been using these for a couple of years now.
Have you?
I did a show on tuning. Oh, it's so good. This is like the sound of the earth. I don't know if you can hear that.
Oh yeah.
And it's just great. I did a whole show on tuning forks, guys. Go to my website, type in tuning forks, you'll find, and there's links below to tuning forks as well.
Well, I've got loads of instruments. I play loads of instruments, but I've tuned them all to full 3/2.
I've got loads of instruments, but I don't play any of them. I'm too busy doing this.
There will be one day where you're inspired to do it, because it depends on inspiration, doesn't it? Okay, so back to this. Implementation. So it's so nice to be able to help people be creative, and what people love is then intrinsic as to, I suppose it's a bit like a juicer, isn't it? What's the best juicer? The one that you're going to use. Doesn't, the one that's easiest to use, the ones that you will use a lot, and that is the best juicer. There is always different varying degrees of what everyone else has on the market. So this is an example. I quite like this because it's fun. Yes, I agree. Not everybody will have tons of space to, create all these different areas, but the opportunities are there. If you've got two trees next to each other, you could do a tree house in between. There's, creating a little maze. And what if you could create a little maze, using geometric shapes, biogeometry? So
That is a great garden.
It's cool, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I was just looking for fun things on the internet. So here is illustration of a little girl having a play. So it is important, and balance is super important. In fact, when I was at university, I took over the Dyslexic Institute to teach people, because I was severely dyslexic learning English when I was 8 years old, growing up in Brazil. But what really helped me, and became, you kind of become unstoppable really at this point. I learned how to cure dyslexia through spinning. And so if you spin anything that makes you dizzy, it's the part at the back of your brain, essentially, that alters the way in which we interpret, the way in which we remember. So literacy, numeracy, memory skills all massively increased. So if you're brainy, you become brainier. If you're dyslexic, you become non-dyslexic. And it's throwing a ball from hand to hand, but watching the ball. So balance is super important. And you can get these balance lines. I remember when I was in America, there were loads of people doing it, and it became like the next craze of the hippies. But
what are they called?
The balance lines.
Balance lines.
Mm.
Okay. Keep going.
So essentially making it fun, because I always found that spinning, it makes me giggle because, you could fall over and have a bit of fun.
I actually really miss my kids being small, because they always they love being spun around, and I used to spin them around the garden all the time.
Yeah.
And I loved it when I was a kid as well.
And it's so good for you. So good for you.
I'm going to go and do that. I'm going to go and do that this afternoon.
Yeah. Pin a tail on a donkey. Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, those are intrinsic. And actually, if you ever see autistic children, they love spinning. We do. In fact, most dyslexic people, you will find, they always do something that practices their balance. So they'll do dance, they'll do bike riding, they'll do some kind of martial arts sport, but something to practice their balance, because it's intrinsic to us. We know it already, but it's never physically taught. So they poo-pooed it in this Dyslexic Institute. And I was like, it's worked for me. Literally 6 weeks later, I had no issue with spelling, no issue with remembering. And I just did it 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening. I made my own wobble board, but it was incredible. And then much later, just recently, I've learned that, and all these exercises are in a book called The Brain Gym.
Well, look, if they'd taken that on board, then there would be no need for the Dyslexic Institute anymore.
Exactly.
And it's like people who do stuff for cancer research. Why don't people cotton on? They've been around for 100 years and they've done nothing. The cure to cancer is in my kitchen.
They've damaged a lot more than they have saved. Yeah, absolutely. It is the same old, isn't it?
It is.
Through and through. But
that's why this is important stuff.
But this is all sharing. That lovely cheesy line, sharing is caring. But if we can teach each other how to cure dyslexia, how to lucid dream, it's they're all the same things in order to actually embellish our lives. But it's only through the application. Practice makes permanent, never makes perfect, and we're all perfectly imperfect.
I wrote a poem 30 years ago, and it was really short, and it was there is nothing so perfect as imperfection. That was
Yeah.
it.
Well, and yeah, exactly. It doesn't really matter the length, but it's the true intent behind it, isn't it?
Mm.
Because everything is perfect, really. It's just the way it should be.
Yeah.
So yeah, having fun. So yeah, I've got a harp that my dad made. I've got guitar, piano, viola, didgeridoo, and they're all great to play for different reasons. And chickens don't like the didgeridoo, so I don't play that with them very often.
Well,
um,
one of my sons has got a didgeridoo because a friend of mine makes them in Derbyshire, I think he lives in. Yeah,
oh,
funnily enough.
ooh,
Yeah,
mm.
they're great.
Yeah, it's the circular breathing that is the difficult thing for most people, because the more you think about it, the harder it is. But I can teach people how to do circular breathing and how to start.
Well, we should do an episode on the didgeridoo.
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
it is
Because
amazing.
there's a really easy way of learning to circular breathe, but it's taking away that subconscious side of it just to yeah, clear the mind.
I'm
But
gonna.
physical
Are
exercises
you?
in order
Are
to
you?
do, yeah.
Are we able to give this PDF away to people?
Yeah. Oh, please do.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put this PDF probably on my Telegram channel, guys. So join that, and I'll put this on. I've got about 9 minutes to go. Is where do you want? Do you want me to flick through these, or are
Yeah,
you?
flick through. So let's get to because no dig is obviously you don't dig because of the abundance of yeah, all the special attributes of soil, etc., etc. So if we just scroll towards the end, no dig gardening. I always ask my plants where they want to be planted as well, so I don't just assume that it's the right place for them. Okay, stop there.
Yeah, this is the bit I'm really interested in.
Okay, so this is where, if you're not in a built up area and you can have a huge mast, absolutely perfect. Now, can you see the way it comes down? Now, that pole could be made of, it doesn't really matter what it's made of, but it's the height that counts, and it's the antennas at the top. So you can have a load of them. You can have a whole hedgehog. You can make it the shape of a tree. You can coil it. You can, there's so many different ways of application wise, but that is our imagination is then the limitation of this. So underneath you have a gridded aspect of this. So that energy is then being pulled down to the ground, and it's then transmuted through the crisscrossing of those wires. Now, where they crisscross, yes, you would solder those parts, and you would put, I mean, this illustration is above the ground. Now, if this is for a farmer, potentially having it further deeper underground would be more beneficial for them. You can have them above the ground if you so wish, but you're pulling up that energy from below as well as above. Like a rainbow is actually a full circle, but we only see half of it above
That's right.
ground.
Yeah.
So as above, so below. Now, if we go to the next slide.
I'm just a bit confused.
Yeah.
So that's all copper at the top. Yeah.
You can have silver, you can have gold, you can have copper, you can.
It's just a wire antenna, and then
Yeah.
it goes down, and then how do you connect it all together?
So you basically, so you're soldering. So
Okay.
you have actually this is really important. So your wires need to align north to south.
Well, that's the other thing. How do you know which direction to point them in and all of that?
Exactly. So the main element of it is north to south, and then you've got one going across to then connect them all. Does that make sense?
Not to me, no.
Okay. So the long lines, many of them, yeah.
Yeah.
They're going north to south.
So they're just single lines.
Yeah.
Laid down north to south.
Yeah.
About a couple of inches apart.
No, you'd have them preferably about a meter apart.
Oh, so They're a meter apart on this picture. This is an old picture.
I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't give it any, but I know that it will only affect a certain amount of area around it. So
Okay.
that there'll be a bubble that is affecting the soil. So if you have them 1 meter apart, and you can have it under the home, you can have it through your garden, but it's the aligning north to south, which is the most important aspect of it.
And then you have one wire going across all of them, soldered to all of them, and
to
then
join them all up so that the energy can flow. If
and then
you've got
that's connected then to the antenna.
yeah,
Okay. Gotcha.
but you can have, instead of the antenna, you can have magnets. So magnets, unfortunately, through obviously the weather, etc., they can degrade quite easily. So what people use is beeswax. So you cover it in beeswax, which is again another natural product, you know, and that has its own qualities. And you can buy it from beekeepers that haven't filtered through their wax, etc. I mean, I got a whole kilo for 10 quid.
Yeah.
So you can use that and wrap them up. So you have your coil going through, and you can buy cylindrical ones, you can buy square ones. So 2 by 2 by 1 magnets, neodymium, I don't say it, magnets. So they're powerful magnets basically, and you can have one a smaller magnets on each individual line that goes through, and then you don't have to connect them all, or you can have a big magnet and then do the crisscrossing again like that antenna. So if you go to the next slide, there. So that is an illustration of magnets underground. This was taken from Yannick's website. So Yannick is I think he's French, but he speaks all sorts of different languages, and he's done quite a few shows on the electroculture. But he's been doing many experiments for about a decade with bees, etc. But you can, instead of having a great big antenna, you can utilize the magnets instead, which then bring up all that goodness as above, so below. So it's creating like that grid pattern, you know, that you have in buildings. Essentially, you align it north to south, and also you can. So I've got my what do you call them? The where is it? Where your 2 sticks. And you go along, and it detects the ley lines. What they're called?
Dowsing rods.
Thank you.
I'll go and get mine.
I'm so sorry. I've lost all my words today.
I don't make a single decision without consulting these.
Yeah. Oh, they're amazing. I mean, you can use anything, can't you? Because everything is energy. It's yeah. So I mean, these are just little things that I've created myself. Where is it? There's a camera. So I stick these in my pots. So if I just take one out, curly whirlies. So for example, here I take one out and I stick it in the pot. As soon as the roots actually reach this element here, you're going to have a dramatic growth spurt, basically, because it's utilizing additional energy that it already has. And that can be in a pot on your veranda, it can be inside, it can be outside, because electrics are everywhere.
So just to get a bit of copper wire, stick it in a pot, away you go.
Another way is actually to, so if I just bend this round, so if I was pointing this at you, for example, and you were directly north, this is how I would have the wire. It's not a very good illustration, actually. So here, so in a half circle, so you know, like the torus, you have these toruses. So there is a gap in between, but you put, in fact, if you go back to the slideshow, there is an example of it in a plant. Next one, no, carry on. There. So can you see the one on the right hand side? the way it's cupped around the plant. And you can do that to big trees if you've got, copper piping that you can bend even. But that is, the open part is facing north.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then you're gathering that energy around it, and it doesn't. Yeah, the copper doesn't have to go into the ground or into the soil of where the plant is, but the one on the left hand side is in the soil by the looks of things. The one on the right. So you can do that to trees, big plants, small plants. Do it to your tomato plants. But it's utilizing that energy. The north to south axis is the most important aspect of it. Does that make sense to you, Mark?
It does, yeah.
Cool. So this is the most amazing. But the electroculture creates massive vegetables. It creates this huge environment for your plants to grow.
So if you guys watching this want to win the prize at the Village Fete next year, get some copper.
There you go. I love it. But then the DNA one, so you hold seeds within a high voltage environment. So they've tried this with corn, because most of it's GMO'd. In fact, all of it. I don't think there is any around the world that isn't. And they tried it with the palm plant, and they tried it with fish eggs. So the maize or sweet corn grew. This is after being in the high voltage environment, wet for 3 days at the end and dry for 4 days at the beginning. But what grew was completely different. So it had taken the DNA essentially back in time. So when it grew, it was much stronger, much taller, a lot more corns per station, essentially, of where the corn grows. And so it produced a heck of a lot more than it would have done normally. And then the seeds taken from that were 5 times, 10 times the size of the original one.
Are you saying that electro gardening can alter genetically modified things back to their original state?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we can undo all this evil shit.
Yeah. How cool is this? I mean, I was so excited. Okay, so there's the example of a corn plant that they grew in the 1980s. Unfortunately, very sadly, the 2 scientists died, of course. But so here, technical explanation. So within the high voltage field, so they grew a palm plant. Now the lobotomists couldn't actually identify the plant from the leaves, but they could from fossils.
Wow.
And then they tried it with rainbow trout. So the rainbow trout that then grew after it had been in this high voltage environment for 7 days, it grew barbs. It had more colour. And these had been extinct for like 130 years in Europe.
Wow.
So compared to the farmed fish in which we have currently, it was much bigger, much stronger, wild. You put your hand in the water and it was gone. Whereas the others were so docile and, like, I don't know. But yeah, so the barbing element of it had been extinct for so long. But this is like the most incredible. And there are lots of different ways in which to do this.
So if I wrap myself in copper, then I'll be a Neanderthal within a few weeks.
No. Is that what you want?
Yeah, well, some people would say I'm one now, but I mean, no. Actually, I was looking into, just briefly looking into Neanderthals, and they were far more advanced, stronger, fitter, bigger than any of us. We've been completely whittled down to. We are like that rainbow fish, rainbow trout.
Yeah. Well, I think we're like the hobbits nowadays. I think
hang on. The hobbits were really cool.
I know. Well, exactly. We are cool.
Okay.
We are. We're learning.
We've been weakened by all of this crap food and pharmaceuticals and everything else.
Yeah, there's a lot of poison about, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's the intrinsic, so if you're no, don't worry, it's fine. But it's so nice to be able to help others. Yeah, I phone up charities nearby and say, if you're growing food, can I talk to the person that's actually growing the food? Can I help, implement? Can I help inspire? Because all this information should be for free in the first place.
Yeah, open source.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'd be very excited to help other people understand this, implement it, because the more places that actually implement this,
It changes the whole planet.
it changes the vibration, full stop.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, that was most illuminating. Thank you, Rachel. You got to come back when that machine's built.
It's halfway there already.
How long do you think it's going to take?
Need to buy the electrodes, the silver electrodes, and I need to buy some 9-volt batteries but yeah, all the parts have now turned up. So yeah,
that is exciting. Brilliant.
And then the primer cube as well.
Oh yeah,
just need to get the magnets for that.
If you've got any information on either of those, can you email them to me? Because I want to look.
I'll do that now. I'll do that now to you, Mark.
I've run out of time, but it's really lovely to meet you. Thank you very much for all that information. I enjoyed that conversation a lot. And guys, if you want that PDF of Rachel's, I'll put it in Telegram. That's what I'll do. Okay. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you so much. Cheers,
Great.
Mark.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.